Welcome to what might be episode 1.
This might be the one.
This might be the one. I was just discussing off camera that's going to be the new bit. I'll just say might be episode 1 for the next 200 episodes.
Always start with Aleph.
Exactly.
That's not even a real quote, by the way.
But it sounds like one.
The quote is that you don't start with Aleph because there is no.
Wow, you're right. It's the
no
opposite of Welcome to episode Bays. Welcome to episode whatever, who cares, of Trauma Dump with Zach Adler. I am with Ben Lerner.
I'm very honored to be here. I don't even know how I made it onto this thing.
You must have known someone in the industry. You're a man, though, of, don't sell yourself short, you're a man of many accolades. I want to list a few. You are an accomplished singer-songwriter with music out on streaming platforms. You are
both Spotify and Apple Music.
Wow. Okay. But not whatever that thing is, that Heart of Gold singer. What's his name?
Neil Young.
Neil Young.
He's
What's
not
his thing?
on Spotify.
No, he has his own title.
No, he doesn't. Title is not Neil Young. Title
Where it's like Jay-Z or something.
Title is Jay-Z, and I think I am on Title. I haven't checked. I don't have Title. I'm sure I'm on it.
My prediction for 2024 is Title is going to be very big.
Now?
No, I'm being very facetious. It's a terrible app that no one uses.
I'm just saying it's not every day you meet an artist like myself who has music both on Apple
and Tidal. And Spotify.
And Spotify.
Very cautious.
Very cautious.
Other accomplishments, you're also an in-demand wedding, simcha, party event singer.
Yes.
You live in Williamsburg. I consider that an accomplishment. You live in non-Hasidic Williamsburg. Bigger accomplishment.
But right next to the Hasidim.
Slightly less accomplishment. You are married to a woman. Decently big accomplishment.
Yes.
You stayed married to a woman. Even bigger accomplishment.
Yes.
And you have a full head of hair and you're in your 30s. So
that's a big accomplishment.
For those reasons and many more, you were sitting on this couch.
I have to say, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of impressed with myself.
You're pretty cautious.
Yeah, the hair and my wife now leaving me.
The non-divorce is, I could just feel the non-divorce energy like coming off you in waves.
I'm ready to give marriage tips. I'm ready. Yeah, well, how does this work? Do I have to say back how great I think you are?
No, you do not have to.
Is this the time?
You do not have to. No, you do not have to. You just have to do that
later.
In
a couple of minutes, casually just ease into it.
I want you to be comfortable to say whatever you want to say, and it would make me comfortable if you stopped every 5 minutes to compliment me. That would make me feel.
Yeah, that would be appropriate. Yeah. Well, this is beautiful. I love this space that we're sitting in. It's very exciting to be here in real life.
I feel like I've bamboozled my audience.
Why?
Because I think a decent amount of people might think this is my apartment, and they might think this is my couch.
I didn't say that we're not on your apartment. Oh, I kind of.
No, that's fine.
I leaked it. Right.
I think I'm ready to come clean. This is showbiz, and what I'm doing is artifice.
Homeless. Right.
This is artifice of showbiz. This is smoke and mirrors. This is not my apartment. This is not my couch.
Yeah.
It's not.
You have this. You know what? You have bamboozled your audience.
I don't feel good about it.
Well, congratulations. As we speak, even though this is episode 1.
Yeah. This is definitely episode 1.
There is another episode 1 that's on YouTube. And
the Shmuley Warren.
Yeah,
but I'm going to call this one episode 1 as well.
Right.
All the episodes will be.
There's many episode 1s, right? Yeah. And I feel like it's very exciting to talk to you in a time where you did it. You made the move. You made the big move. And that's really cool.
It is.
Yeah.
You've been pushing me to do this podcast for about
you've
been pushing me to do this podcast since I was on Mislabeled. So
I think even before.
Yeah.
I think I was pushing you to do it before Mislabeled.
Well, I think people who know me well, like you, one of my closest friends, people who know me well know that before I was on Mislabeled and I spent a year and some months in the podcasting world, I expressed interest in podcasting.
Yes,
it's something I always wanted to do.
Yes, you did.
This small, meager, one couch, one camera podcast that I'm shooting right now is a bit of a dream come true. Not a bit. It's a dream come true for me. It's a dream come true because it's mine. And so that's really cool, and thank you for pushing me.
For sure.
Yeah. Ben.
Why am I here?
What's on your mind? What the hell is on your mind?
Oh God. I've been good. I've been been chilling.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking which direction I wanna.
Well, we have like 5 things that we always talk about.
Right. Should we just not do any of those 5?
I think we should try to name them, but I want to see. I think we should go tit for tat, 1 then 1 and 1, and see if we disagree with any of them. Okay. What are our big 5?
Okay.
You start.
Comedy. Is that one of our big 5?
I would consider
Comedy,
it. Like who's better, who's doing what. Yeah. Okay.
Comedy as a sport.
Comedy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Comedy as a sport, like the way the Mayans played sport. Like someone has to die.
Well, I really like talking about comedy because I'm not a comedian. So it's I don't really care for actual sports. So it's fun to talk about comedy as a sport and see who's funny. And do you follow Joke World?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so smart. Like people, like part of his thing is, this week, this guy was a guest here, and this guy was a guest there.
It's like the hop.
And people tune in for that.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping he would bring up Tim Dillon's story in his video.
We might as well. I was going to say I consider Tim Dillon the second of our big 5 conversational points. He's separate from comedy.
I'm really trying to stop thinking about Tim Dillon. I really think he's an anti-Semite also.
You know him better than I do, so I can't speak to that.
He was, the other day, he said, like, the Jews like did well for themselves, so they should stop bringing up anti-Semitism, and that really bothered me.
I think it would only bother me if he that is a bothersome statement, but he's also Tim Dillon. Like he's just saying it. Isn't he just saying it to get? Like he's saying this thing you're not supposed to say, not what he actually believes.
No, well, I don't think that he doesn't believe what he says. I think. Yeah. What doesn't he believe?
I mean, it's not the most surprising thing in the world if Tim Dillon was actually a little racist, but
yeah, listen, this leads to a larger question of like, I think people like Tim Dillon are only obsessed with themselves, and that kind of what drives them. And I'm working overtime to like not be obsessed with anyone, because I think it's just it's a bad drug where you're plugging yourself into other people's lives, instead of focusing on yourself.
People are into these parasocial relationships.
I don't know what parasocial means.
Like this person who doesn't know you exist. You're very invested in their life.
Yeah, it's sick. It's absolutely sick.
I think sick's a strong word because I think it's like super human. Like
right.
It's funny. I used to think like, famous people only were invented 100 years ago with like movies, right? Or
sure.
Like 200.
Sure.
It's not true. Like I'm watching Game of Thrones now, which is my only knowledge. All my knowledge of the way the world was in like medieval times is from that show, so it's probably very wrong. But there's this concept of like, for millennia, human beings have done things just to be legendary, to get fame. We've always been interested in famous people, in the lives. We sing songs about great warriors,
Right.
So
right.
Tim Dillon is our gladiator. Like these people are gladiators now. But I do agree with you.
You're saying that we've always just been worshiping other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, as to why do you think? I have a theory as to why. I do have a theory as to why.
Well,
a wholesome theory where I don't think it's so sick.
I was supposed to have the whole. Yeah, again, when I said sick, I was a little bit exaggerating, but it is a thesis for me.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a lifelong thesis. I remember that when I was in Yeshiva, the Yeshiva that I went to had a very, very charismatic rabbi in charge, and I remember one of the things that like drove me away from it was, oh my gosh, this guy is just in my head. Like he's always in my head. He's in my dreams. I think about what he would think about different things. Guys would like draw him in these cartoons and create as a joke.
That's still a lot.
Because he was he's still around, like a very, very charismatic person. And I was seeing him every single day. And like, the way I see
that's a lot.
It is a lot, right? It is a lot.
No. Look, I was in Yeshiva for a long time. I'm very familiar with the concept of like being really into a Rebbe. I've seen guys for years of my life, every perm, they're just like crying like, Rebbe, I want to catch a Rebbe.
Right.
But drawing cartoons is like just next level.
I was in a very interesting yeshiva where the yeshiva really was very, very, very charismatic. And like to no fault of his own. Like he was just really charismatic. And
it's such a funny statement. Like, look, it wasn't his fault. He was just...
No, because I think it's toxic. I don't think it's a good thing.
Charisma in general, or charisma used for the wrong reasons?
I think to
For the wrong
center a
ends.
yeshiva around your charisma is not the way to go. There's this other track. This is a Jewish podcast, right? For today.
This this episode is we're only if a
yeah.
non-Jew tries to click on the link, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I think that part of the selling point of Judaism, well, there's many. You can sell it 1,000 ways, but like, and all are sold at the right times to the right people. But like, one of the things that I really liked was like monotheism. You know, there are many gods. There are many. You know, what does it mean to serve gods? Like, there's many distractions. There's many things to get into, and the purpose of this religion is like to align yourself with like the highest good. So therefore, everything else is seen as not the highest good, and it's a distraction. It's a powerful distraction. There's many ways to get lost in your life, but we're going to use our religious power to get away from that, you know, and to connect to something like beyond all the distractions. Yeah, beyond every charismatic person, beyond any.
But wouldn't you say that Judaism has always exonerated the leader, the rabbis, the gedolim? Like, we have leaders, and I don't mean it in a bad way.
It's not in a bad way. I mean, and that's why you kind of have the story of the golden calf, right? Because
was that a charisma issue? Because the guy who was running that was Aaron, and wasn't he like not
into it?
Well,
the whole story was, from what I understand.
This is, by the way, the first Dvar Torah on this podcast. This is, by the way,
this week's Parsha.
Really?
Parshas, is it? Truma, no, next week. Tetzaveh, Kisisa.
I was about to become from again, I swear.
Maybe you can put this out next week. Hey, if we're going to be Jewish, let's be Jewish, right?
Yeah,
like, the idea was, this is what I was taught. Like, I'm sure people will say that there's something else. What I was taught is that, like, the idea was, like, Sinai, this, like, big experience of, like, experiencing God, whatever that is. And then once Moshe Rabbeinu disappears, people are confused because Moshe is the leader. And now that the leader is gone, they're scared and they're confused. So they build a calf because they need something to worship, you know?
Yeah.
So this idea that you're constantly trying to connect to something real but end up worshiping some nonsense is it's in the Torah.
Because it must be in human nature.
Yes.
Well, because that's kind of the fault. By the way, this podcast is off to a philosophical start. I don't mind it at all. It's just like, whoop.
What should we do? Yeah.
I was thinking like a couple dick jokes. No. Yeah, I think it's something deep in human nature. Probably that's the issue with monotheism. Is it's a lovely concept, but I would say probably top 5 issues people have with the God of Abraham is he ain't around.
Like what are we plugging into?
What are we plugging into?
Which is why people constantly say you need a Rebbe, you need something. You know?
Need Mashiach. You need a human.
You need a person.
I mean, I don't know whose episode is going to come out first. So
which
I don't know
episode 1 comes out?
which first episode will come out first? But I shot an episode with the man who owns this camera that we're shooting with, Zevi Slavin, and we spent a lot of time talking about Jesus and about, you know, that me and him both kind of looked to, like, there was a jealousy almost of like, wow, like Christians get to have
a person
of who's God, but like he's more relatable. Like Jesus is way more relatable. Jesus is still pretty unrelatable because I don't have abs like that or hair like that, and I don't look as good in white robes, but he's much more relatable than a all-consuming fire, as the Rambam says God is.
Interesting.
You could have met him at one point. He was a dude.
Right.
You know? And so that's why we have Rebbeim, and then you have that's a beautiful thing. And then you have the artistic end of that spectrum, which is people get too into the rabbis, and then you have this onloading of like personal responsibility or personal decision making to like a gadol. Which, to be fair, the yeshivas I went to railed against that. Like, they weren't into the, like, oh, go ask for a bracha, everything will be fine. Or go ask They were like, you got to come out, take responsibility for your own life.
Right.
Because, you know, there's this, like, thing in the frum world of, like, you'll go to a wedding, a chasana, and there'll be some, like, Rosh Yeshiva there, and people will, like, line up who have never met him and be like, yeah, so should I get this divorce?
You've already done this. This has been published.
Dang it, no. Where? Which? On Miss Label? When did I say
you
this?
said this. This is on another
Well, it
episode.
really bothers me. This
This
concept.
is on the Bonnie-on. This is on the Bonnie-on.
Oh, is it?
episode.
That's
you literally
so funny.
say this is one of your bits.
God, I apologize to my audience
And
for
you said
double
it-
dipping.
and you said it much better than okay. It's okay. Look, it's obviously like you end up running in a circle because how do you find out about the religion? Because like someone explained it to you, someone told you about it, and then you follow the person who explained it to you. So now you're following a person. So it's a non-ending circle. But I just realized now that's kind of why I like books.
Why?
Because there's no charismatic guy like standing in front of you and using his like alpha energy to
Ooh,
and, like,
can a book have alpha energy?
body language, like it's just text. Yeah, it definitely.
Can a book riz you up?
Yes.
It kind of can.
But it's a little bit more of. There's a little bit more equality, like there's like I always think like I rather talk to someone. I rather negotiate on a phone than negotiate with someone in person.
Right.
Because I don't want some guy who's just bigger than me in size to kind of like lord over me.
Right.
But like on the phone, you're just on the phone.
It's easier to like close a book and be like, I disagree, than it is
Yes.
to look
Yes.
someone in the
Yes.
face and be like, I don't agree
You're
with you.
wrong.
You're
Right,
wrong. Yeah.
right,
Whoa.
Right.
Special effects.
Special effects. Is this okay? That's tea. It's fine.
Mostly water.
It's mostly water. Okay. Yeah.
We have to edit that out because my fans can't know that I'm a human who has foibles. I must become a godlike entity.
I really like these microphones, by the way. This is really nice.
Isn't it kind of sexy?
Yeah,
It's nice. Yeah.
It's really, really nice. So that's my thing with like worshiping people.
I love how we got into this
yeah.
conversation from, I believe Tim Dillon led to this because you're trying not to be so into Tim. And I mean, it's funny because
Most people
I
probably
think
don't
me
even-
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
have a kind of similar, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have a similar journey in terms of who we worship because we were very earnest Yeshiva Bukrim, so we probably looked very much up to our Rebbeim and probably hung onto their every word. I know
Sure.
I did. I know you did.
I mostly.
Right, mostly. I know I mostly
I
did.
mostly did. I always had questions.
spark of rebellion.
Huge. I always identified as a rebel.
Yeah.
While in practice, not doing too many rebellious things.
Right.
But mentally, I was never like fully.
Sure.
Fully like, and I kind of wanted to be. I was like,
Right. I think we're similar in that regard
Yeah,
also.
but we tried. You tried. I tried.
Yeah.
I still try, or I try not to. I don't know. It goes both ways. Right.
But the journey goes
Yeah.
Rebbeim, exonerate Rebbeim, you just respect, look up to, worship. And then it moved to probably like public intellectuals. I think we both went through a Jordan Peterson phase, or we went through like just phase where we were looking for like wisdom from people. And then it moved a little bit into musicians and landed on comics.
Well, I'm gonna say something that's just gonna alienate me from everybody in the
I love
world.
it.
After here, because our Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshiva was, besides for giving shir, he would give shmooze once a week. That was just like 2 hours of rant, of just like heavy rant.
That's a big charismatic guy thing to do.
Yeah, and after I left Yeshiva, I went to like the middle of America to teach in a school. I was in
Which
Omaha.
state?
I was in Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
And I remember just like sitting in my apartment and like missing rant. And that's when I went on YouTube and like started listening.
Hitler.
Michael Savage.
Wait, who's Michael Savage?
I guess it's before your.
I've like heard the name, but like, was he
like,
a radio
It's
host?
it's like a Rush Limbaugh equivalent.
Oh, like very right wing?
Yeah. And I
Oh.
and I was just like, this feels good. Angry guy, angry old Jewish guy.
Was your Rebbe angry?
I don't
His schmoozin were angry?
I wouldn't really be like, I want to say anger is it wasn't like he was yelling. It was kind of berating how certain people act. He had a very negative view on just like American Jewry. Like he felt like the only people who have it right are basically his yeshiva and like Panovich. You know what I mean? Like everything
Love
else
that.
is like not up to the standard.
Oh, this is
And-
classic elitism. Every yeshiva has
we
this.
kind of, it was a double-edged sword because I was thinking like the circle's too small. Like it can't just be that I'm so lucky that I ended up in the one yeshiva that's good, But yeah, so I'm saying I missed that missed that voice in my ears.
That's real though. That's real.
Yeah.
You missed someone who came off as very self-assured, kind of yelling at you, telling you what to do and who to be. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, 100%.
And I'm still, like, I'm 30, and I'm still trying to, like, become that person who doesn't need that. And honestly, the best way to do it is to start telling other people what to do. Like, that's the best cure. Like, or at least start telling yourself what to do. Like, even sitting here, like, I'm going to listen back to this and be like, oh, like, this is what like I said, like that, those are my views. Like, that's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, finding your own voice for me is also just like finding my own identity and like not like being subjugated to just charisma,
If anything, you want to be the one with charisma.
I want to be the charisma.
Not necessarily to lead other people. There's such a thing, I think is what you're saying. There's such a thing as having charisma towards yourself.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, oh, I need to
You don't want to be a leader.
No, not at all.
You want to be charismatic to yourself. You want to have a strong enough.
Yes.
You want to stand on business.
Yes.
With yourself.
I wanna like myself. Yes, and listen to.
It's not
myself.
just like, I believe it's like respect your opinion and your
Right.
like what do I do with my life? Let me look to Ben Lerner instead of let me look to X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
High five for that, because
thank you. That's very nice and therapeutic, right? Yeah,
wow. Okay. Well, the therapy part of the podcast is done. Now let's make fun of Jews.
Yeah. You roast Jews.
Now the roasting part of the pod begins. The trauma's out, and that's really beautiful, dude. That's awesome, and I resonate with that strongly.
And I've been thinking this way, by the way, for a very long time. It's not like I had this realization, and I think that I'll be in that place.
My podcast, I only want ideas that are fresh. I want, if they didn't come to you in a flash of inspiration on this couch, why would I want to hear it right now?
I mean, the first song I ever wrote was called, or first song I ever released, and I told you this, is called Jordan.
I know, I've heard you perform it.
Right.
And it's about Mr. Peterson.
It's about Mr. Peterson.
Maybe the only song in existence about Jordan Peterson.
I should send it to him.
You really should.
Send it to him, yeah. No one knew what it was about. They're like, "What are you thinking about?" Like,
I didn't for years. For years, I didn't know.
I still listen back to it, and I'm like, "Oh, there's potential here." Like,
it's a banger.
Yeah, there's banger elements.
There's banger in better production, but banger elements.
Yeah. But
that's like when I listen to early Beatles. I'm like, banger elements. I see where they were going.
I see what they were.
Okay, I see
You kids, you have something.
Yeah, you got a little special sauce.
I'll make you a star. Yeah.
By the way, I mean, we've done so many podcasts together, half of them which have never been aired.
Most
of them don't get released.
Yeah, but you got to
we talk every day. We talk about a lot of
the
same music.
Right.
Have we ever talked about the Beatles, me and you? And what it...
I'm always happy to talk about it again.
Let's talk about the Beatles right now, because I don't remember knowing your thoughts. Okay, rapid fire. Who is your favorite Beatle, and what's your favorite Beatles album?
Paul McCartney.
Okay, great answer.
Favorite album? Sgt. Pepper is very good.
It is.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
People get like, I've talked to people who are like almost upset if you don't say
Sgt. Pepper or
No. Abbey Road. Like people get upset if you're like, well, of course that's their best album.
I mean,
like, I think
Sgt.
Sgt. Pepper's.
The end, that medley is like amazing.
Yeah.
But I think Come Together is viewed by many people as like the greatest Beatles song. It's a great song, but
I don't think it's the best.
But it's not the best Beatles song.
No.
Yeah.
I think the Beatles did for me earlier than any other band, and there's gonna be someone here who's gonna be upset I'm about to stick these bands together, but I will. I think the Beatles and Vampire Weekend, more than any artist, showed me, because up until I was listening to them heavily, I grew up on the Beatles, but I didn't like pay attention until I was a teenager.
You actually grew up on them, right?
My father was a diehard Beatles fan.
I discovered them when I was 17.
That was like a gift from like my family to me. It was like, here's the Beatles, enjoy this the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But really them and then Vampire, when I was a little bit older, were like the rock bands that like made me realize, oh yeah, music has no rules. Because both of those bands do things that you would never like. And I'm sure someone's like, well, you should listen to Velvet Underground. Like I didn't listen to those guys.
How does Vampire Weekend tell you that music has no rules?
Because they sound like, to me, they sounded like no one else. Like they were mixing hyper literate lyrics. They had references to like Lil Jon in there. They're stealing African Afrobeat rhythm drumming. They all dressed in like boat shoes. They were such a weird mix of things.
It's so interesting because...
And yet they sounded wholly unique.
It's so interesting because I like listen, because you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listen to Vampire Weekend, I'm like, finally, like a modern band that like I like. You know what I mean? and it's funny because you're saying no, it's like a really, really unique thing. Like to me, it's like it should be as good as this. Otherwise, why would I?
I mean, there's other great modern bands. The Strokes exist.
I don't listen. I mean, there's a lot of great bands, but there's something about Vampire Weekend that really gets my ear. It
also might be you probably really enjoy Graceland.
No. I like Graceland.
Okay, because a lot of people say there's similarities there to the African.
Something about Vampire Weekend. I also remember when I got into them, I was in Northern California. I was only there once. I was right before I was getting married, and I listened to
Oh, that's okay. It's third album already.
And the other song,
Unbelievers
also, but Step.
Yeah.
Every time I think Step was the one that really got
Step's
me.
great, yeah.
But I just saw a clip of Ezra Koenig. He was an extra on Girls for like one.
He was,
scene.
yeah.
And I'm like, he's so cool.
Yeah, I really obviously am in love with. Honestly, that is a dream. No,
is he still like active? I mean,
active.
I know
they just put out music.
I know, but I feel like at this point they're like.
He's not as like trolly on the internet. He used to be like all over the internet.
Yeah.
He's
think,
old. These guys have kids.
Right. From what I understand, at a certain point, Vampire Weekend was like the culture, especially like in New York.
Vampire Weekend inspired an entire generation of Ivy League pretentious white kids.
Right.
And thank goodness they did.
Yeah. So I only came to this stuff later, meaning I in 2012, 2013, I wasn't plugged in yet.
Well, you know what Vampire Weekend meant to me, and maybe it meant to you also, because I think we're similar in this. They're a rock band, but like, look at us, look at me, and you, like we're not like we're just not those guys. We were like Zeppelin didn't do it for me because no part of me was like, oh yeah, that's me. I hear myself in the music.
Right, it's a little too gruff.
It's a little too chest hair and...
It's not something I can write.
It's a little too much chest hair and elves, Led Zeppelin.
Even though I really do connect to Zeppelin. I do connect to the heaviness of Zeppelin.
Sure.
But it took me a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
I connect to the heaviness of like hardcore and emo more because it's like sad gruff instead of like... I don't really swashbuckly, that's what I would call... Like classic rock is very swashbuckly and like I don't really connect to that. But then Vampire Weekend, bands like that, bands like the Beatles. The Beatles are a bunch of nerds. No one talks about this. They're not jocks. Paul's like half jock. But John is John, George, and Ringo, they're nerds. It's a nerd, it's scrawny, nerdy white guys making the weirdest, most beautiful, interesting music, earnest music you could possibly imagine. And Vampire's the same thing. It's a bunch of book nerds who care more about the thread count of their polo shirts than they do about, like sex, I guess, or like rock and roll. And I like that.
Yeah. I wish I always come late to these things. Like I wasn't there when this music was.
You grew up from. It's not your fault.
Yeah. I don't know. I was in Israel when this stuff.
Oh, so your parents weren't like you were you raised on?
No, not at all.
You weren't raised on this stuff. Yeah.
Not at all.
If anything, you get a lot of credit
for trying to catch up. Right.
For just introducing yourself to good stuff.
Right. But yeah, I wonder like what's now, like what's the Vampire Weekend of today? Because I really think of them as like the voice of a generation.
I do
and
too.
And maybe even our generation.
They are
when we were not really involved
in the gym when we were like 15.
Yeah. So like, what's now? Like, who's the voice of the generation?
I don't think I'm gonna be able to like pick up a band or an artist out of my head.
And we're probably wrong. The Vampire Weekend probably isn't the voice of the generation. It just seems like that to me.
It's the voice of my generation.
Yeah, voice of me. Yeah,
voice of me.
What I would do if I was in Colombia, But yeah. I don't know what's now. I don't know. Yeah,
I haven't loved an artist like that. But also, like, I have alarming trends in my music listening. This is not even funny. This is just sad. Is that, like, I used to sit down and listen to albums, and then you get older, and, like, you have a job, and, like, your nervous system starts to slowly wither away. And, like, I haven't sat down to listen to a full record. I do that 3 times a year. That used to be, like,
I think
how I listen to
music. Most people
music.
don't do it at all. Yeah.
But I miss it. I miss it. That's the right way to listen to music.
I think the only way to do that now is if you get into vinyl.
Or Xanax.
Or Xanax.
Yeah.
Right.
You need both. You need vinyl and Xanax in order to do that.
Xanax is probably cheaper if you have like.
Why don't me and you have Me and you should
Xanax.
Yeah, why don't we?
I keep like Googling like what I'm gonna get and like
The record player.
Yeah, and then like the speakers.
It's crazy that me and
I
you
actually
don't.
have to pick up. My grandfather's dead, but his record player's alive.
That's possibly the weirdest way to have said that. My condolences and congratulations.
Yeah. I have to go to his house. I have to get the vinyl record player. I have to get the accordion. He left me an accordion.
Did he leave you like a bag of cocaine from like the 80s?
Maybe inside the vinyl player.
Was your grandfather cool like that?
No, he was cool, but not like that.
Not like that.
But he was.
He was intellectual, cool, right?
He was interesting because he talked like a working class person.
He's Russian, like very Russian.
Yeah, but a lot of Russians are very intellectual. He was not. He worked in the MTA. He was more of like a.
We're doing an MTA.
In this country, yeah.
Well, yeah, New York.
Yeah.
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 There's no MTA of France.
My grandfather only got to this country when he was like almost 50, and he secured himself a job working.
How did he learn English so late in life?
He learned it. Wasn't very good at it. Yeah. But he in the MTA they were all like immigrants.
This is like an interesting aspect of our relationship is I know you're Russian. I know I've heard you speak Russian on like some occasions, but still every time you do it,
You're not
it
conscious
catches
of
me
it every second.
so surprised when I hear you speak
But
Russian.
I view that as like my biggest strength.
That you're a secret Russian.
You don't know that you don't view me as
Russian.
as an immigrant, you know, because I'm not.
Because you're not.
I was
You
born
grew up here.
I was born here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there are even kids who were born here who had more of like a Russian heritage that was more.
You come off American.
Because I went to Yeshiva, and
So it got you away from here.
they're like between.
Well, how Russian is your dad?
The most.
Your dad's the most
In
Russian?
my house for years, there was like this Russian book that my father was reading for like in the bathroom for like 5 years. Stalin versus the Jews. Like that was like a Russian book in the bathroom. I used to like see it every day. Like the most Russian. Yeah.
Did you grow up like here?
I'm going to call my father after this podcast
Yeah.
and talk to him in Russian about Russia.
while drinking vodka and eating plov.
Literally. Yeah.
Did you what did your parents have to say or grandparents? What did you hear about Stalin in the household growing up?
Nothing good. But I could tell you some interesting things. I could tell you that when he died, his plan was to kill all the Jews, and like soon.
First of all, copyright infringement, that was Hitler's thing.
That was Hitler's
Stay in your lane.
People, right? So Hitler had partially succeeded, partially failed, and Hitler was dead. And until World War II, the Jews in the Soviet Union were actually treated very equally. Like anti-Semitism was illegal, and there was like Yiddish theater. You couldn't practice Judaism, but there was Yiddish theater, and there were Jewish schools where they taught Soviet propaganda in Yiddish. And my great-grandparents went to schools like that. My younger great-grandparents, yeah. Yiddish-speaking Stalinist Soviet schools.
I don't know why, but my brain immediately went to like, we need to get our hands on some of that paraphernalia because that would be the hardest album cover of all time.
I was thinking to say, because that's the curriculum I would like to teach to my child.
I want to give that over to my kids. Yeah,
We're going to learn alphas and communism, right?
At least it's Yiddish.
Yeah. We have to talk about that also.
But
But after the war, let me just finish.
Yeah,
After the war, Stalin was like, okay, we're done with this. Like he closed down all the Yiddish stuff, all the Yiddish theaters. Started like arresting, like all the Jews started getting arrested for like conspiring against the government. There was this like big trial where a bunch of doctors, Jewish doctors, were accused of trying to kill Stalin, attempting to kill Stalin. You can look this up, but like
I won't. But
the anti-Semitism just came out of thin air, because
that's terrifying.
Yeah, because Jews actually fought the revolution, and Jews like took down the Tsar, and Jews were like a big part of the Soviet Revolution was Jewish people.
Jewish intelligentsia was all very communist.
Yeah, and then Stalin co-opted that and turned on them and just started sending them to gulags left and right. Up until 1954, there was a real plan to take all the Jews and to deport them to like far Siberia and just let them die there. Everyone was going to just be taken out of their homes and sent out.
Dude, that's wild.
We're talking about millions of Jews, and we're talking about whoever's left from like Like we just had the Holocaust, 9 years ago, and like
Yeah.
now we're doing this. Literally, my family, like they were already told, like be at the train station, like with your suitcases. Like that's where it was. And then Stalin died, and it was Purim.
Stalin died on Purim?
Yeah. And the whole thing was canceled.
Wait, that's some... Bro, stop. That's
Yeah,
that's some story,
yeah,
Yeshiva
yeah.
story type
No, and
magic.
if you
Right?
ask a Chabad Chassid, they'll tell you that the Rebbe did it. Like the Rebbe killed Stalin. Like they have a story.
What are the Litvish takes on that story?
I don't think they even know. I just found out about this year.
It's still miraculous sound. That's crazy.
It's a real story.
Plot against the Jews. He dies on Purim. Get out of
on
here.
Purim.
And I'm assuming that the guy who took the place of Stalin when there was that power vacuum when he died, like who?
Khrushchev.
Khrushchev?
Khrushchev. Yeah.
And so he did not share Stalin's hatred of Jews.
Yeah, they can't. There was still like government sanctioned anti-Semitism. Like you couldn't get into like certain jobs and like
Right.
universities, but they canceled the Holocaust. They canceled that part. And then later on, they actually came out and said, Stalin was a bad guy, and they kind of rewrote. Oh, my point was, I love that I'm telling you history because I think some nerds listening to this would also appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm appreciating it.
Thank you.
I just don't know this stuff.
The cool thing is that when he died, my great-grandmother cried and said, "What are we going to do without Stalin?"
Ooh, okay. Explain.
Because the obsession with Stalin was so high and so real. Like kind of how they tell us about Kim Jong-un in North Korea, how like the whole
Right.
country's obsessed with him. They were all obsessed with him. They were convinced that he was a
How
god.
does that work, though, the cognitive dissonance of that? How does that work? Because they must
knew
on
he
some
was going
level...
to kill them, right?
Right, because
Yeah.
on some level, you must be aware on some conscious level of the atrocities that he either has done or is planning on doing. And then to also worship. I always thought it was a bit of Stockholm Syndrome. You end up loving the person abusing you.
That's possible. I could just tell you that the whole country mourned. We can go on YouTube and watch black and white videos of just this giant funeral procession and the whole country just in this crazy mourning that like Stalin's dead and what are we gonna do now? Like
Crazy.
the world just ended. You know what I mean? Stalin's dead. Yeah, yeah.
It's a little creepy.
It's a little creepy.
It's like very creepy to have a mass murderer in charge and he's like worshipped by the people.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even...
Yeah.
That's so above my pay grade to
Yeah.
even understand
Just
the
to
psychology.
comment on it. Well, it just goes back to what we're saying. Like, people are obsessed.
And that's why you can't be such a big fan of Tim
Exactly.
Dillon, because he might one day want to kill you and you'll still love him.
I mean, I'm literally listening to the guy. I'm like, he doesn't like the Jews. Then
I still-
the
but I
next
still
week, I'm
worship-
like, he really doesn't like the Jews. And I'm like still listening because like
I do
it's
think
funny.
Tim Dillon might be the Stalin of our times. Like, he's got the body type. He just needs to grow out a stash. A word from our sponsors, which is a joke because I don't have any sponsors yet.
You will.
Emir Hashem.
You'll have sponsors.
I'm in the middle of inking like a several $1 million deal with Geffen, both the grape juice and the records.
David Geffen grape juice.
David
Geffen is actually branching into the grape juice world. The
Subsidiaries.
kosher grape juice world.
100%.
Is Geffen the main? Oh, there's Geffen and there's Kedem. I always used to get confused because Kedem is
thought-
Herzog.
Yeah, they're different
Herzog
companies.
is a big deal.
What do you mean it's a big deal?
I mean, they have
Like they make bank?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to think right now. What are like kosher or Jewish companies that I would actually like? I would be proud to represent them and like be sponsored. Easily, Nutty Chews.
Yeah, it's
I
like
want-
Pashkis.
Yeah, but like specifically Nutty Chews.
Oh.
I think it's the best.
Listen, I interviewed Malky Weingarten on my podcast.
I don't know what that is.
And she makes Jewish movies from girls. And Klein's kosher ice cream, gave her money for her first movie. Not a lot. Gave her like a couple of $1,000.
I grew up on a couple $1,000 is still real money.
And for that, they had to film the girls eating
Clients.
in the movie. Would you do that? Would we shoot this podcast like in the Klein's kosher ice cream?
Look at this. This is the face of a whore. Okay, clients. Anyone, any company. If you are looking at this right now, you give me money, I will. I will. Absolutely.
No, but real talk.
I'll do anything.
Real talk. You don't have to do anything. Like if you're listening,
I
to this,
will stick bodily organs into the client's ice cream.
Let's say this podcast gets 1,000 views on YouTube, which it really might.
It might, sure.
It might, and that means that, half those people watch the whole thing, or who knows. that's worth something to someone.
Yeah,
and
for
if
sure.
if you're starting out as an event planner, or you do balloons at bat mitzvahs, or you do wigs, and they want to give you a couple of dollars to shout them out on the podcast, it could be a win-win.
I would love to shill for some Sheitelmachers.
Yeah.
It's been like a dream of mine.
It doesn't cost you anything. So you just, if they can give you something, I think you'd be open to
Listen up, companies. Bring me an offer.
Make me an offer.
Make me an offer, and I'll say yes.
Make him an
I love
offer.
how I'm talking like I have like, you come to me. Your people, have your people talk to my people. Like,
I think there is a lack of awareness in the podcast advertising world. I think a lot of companies still don't know about it. They just don't know about it. It's like, to us, it's like obvious. Like, you can advertise on a podcast. Like, I think people just don't know about it.
You think they're not holding by advertising by the goyim?
They're like, yeah, even by the goyim.
The Jews see a podcast the same way that Jews see an open plot of land in Brooklyn. They're like, why couldn't someone make money off this? We look at a beautiful podcast the same way we look at like a park. We go, Central Park's nice, but it could have been a building.
It's true though. I mean, I look at that. I look like that at like 2-floor houses at Williamsburg. I'm like, there could have been a 3rd floor here. There's like an open space. Yeah.
Have you ever lost something near and dear to you because of real estate? The best bar in Crown Heights is going to be an apartment complex. And the Jew in me is happy. But the person who enjoys fun in me is not.
A lot of these things, like if you walk around New York City, there's like so many shuttered commercials. Yeah, I lost something.
Oh, Rockwood. Rockwood.
Okay, so my lifelong dream, can I tell your audience?
Yeah, tell
My lifelong dream as a musician was to play Rockwood Music Hall Stage 2, the big room.
The big room at Rockwood, yeah.
And I played the small room twice. You were there both times. And then they said, okay, you can play the big room, boy. You made it. Like, you brought 50, 60 people. Like, we'll give you the big room. And I was so excited. And then I get an email. We're closing the big room for good. The first day we're closing it is the day that you're supposed to perform there. And I'm like, can't we just, like, push it off?
That's crazy.
It's really sad. And now I walk by it and, like, they broke the stage, like literally, like the
saddest thing. Bro, Rockwood's also. New York is so fucking inhospitable to everyone who isn't a millionaire.
And that's the thing. Everything's for rent. Everything's like available for businesses to rent, and no one. The system is literally broken. I don't understand.
The businesses can't afford it.
You should have a real estate expert explain to you why no business can afford to rent a storefront.
Yeah, next episode, just a really depressed real estate guy.
No, but I want to tell you about the Rockwood thing. They pulled a fast one. I'm going to accuse them of fraud right now because
right here, okay.
They raised like $150,000 or maybe more, like fundraised from poor people, and like Sarah Bareilles played them like a benefit concert.
If they fundraise from specifically poor people?
Well, just people were sending like $10, $15.
Right.
Like
they crowdsourced from the hamonam, the common man.
To save Rockwood, and they had the Sarah Bareilles, and then they said, like, unfortunately, despite all your efforts,
didn't work.
We're gonna close. But the next day, they opened a location in Boston.
With that money? Wait, they didn't give back the money?
No one got back.
That's fucked. First of all, smart move on their part. If you're ever gonna raise money and you need to like pull some heartstrings, Sarah Bareilles is on the hotline. Like someone, like there's some like label exec smoking a cigar with like fat like pinstripe suit, being like, "Get me Bareilles on the phone. I need to make these fuckers cry."
They raised the money, closed anyway. Like, I didn't give them money. I live in New York. I didn't give them money so they can open a bar in Boston.
No, I believe you.
I gave it for New York. I haven't said I didn't give them anything, but
Shut up. I'm sorry, that's really funny. I wonder, okay, so now my dream is to get Sarah on the pod to discuss if she feels wronged. Like, I didn't go out there.
She's in on it. They pay her.
She's in on it. This goes up to the president, man.
This goes up to
Sarah, how could you? Who made you the king of anything, Sarah? How could you? That was a joke for 7 people.
What's her? I didn't get it, by the way.
She has a song called King of Anything.
What's like her? She has like.
Oh, are you not a Sarah fan?
No, and then I choose you, you. No.
Wait, I do recognize that.
It's like a wedding song.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, whatever. I recognize that melody. I mean, her most famous song is "I'm Not Gonna Write You a Love Song." Dude, pop music. Okay, can we talk about this for a second?
Sure.
There is, not all eras are the same, and I don't care if I sound like an old fogey. Eras. Yeah, not all eras are the same.
You missed it.
What?
Like Taylor Swift eras? Okay,
yes,
fine.
like
Yeah,
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift mentioned.
Are you not a football fan? Don't all people who watch football love Taylor Swift?
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad Travis Kelce introduced me to the music of Taylor Swift.
She's actually pretty good.
I have literally nothing against Taylor Swift, and I like her music, but I think I like the memes making fun of her using jet planes to get from one end of a plane to the other better than I like her music.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
Eras. You said there's different eras of pop music.
Dude, that was the best era of pop music, is like early 2000s pop that you would hear at a Kohl's. It was not synthy. It was not electronic. It wasn't digital. It was bands. Sarah Bareilles, Gavin DeGraw, early Nickelback, Jason Mraz, the I'm Yours Jason Mraz era.
That was pop, right?
That was pop, but it was pop with real instruments.
What year is I'm Yours?
We're talking like between 2005 and 2015.
Yeah, I wasn't around.
Decade.
15 I wasn't around.
Well, that whole decade.
I actually remember that when I tried to get into pop music for the first time, it must have been like 2009, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
It was not very good. It was
incorrect. What were you listening to?
Baby, are you down?
First of all, that song is a banger. That song is an absolute banger.
But
it's not like high art.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like fast forward like 5-6 years, and you have like Ed Sheeran, Sam Smith.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more.
I'm gonna make a dichotomy here.
Yeah.
The reason that we are denigrating one of those songs and exonerating the other and calling it more musical is because Ed Sheeran considers himself a singer-songwriter foremostedly.
Right, sure.
I don't know if that's a word. And Sarah Bareilles is a singer-songwriter. Gavin DeGraw is a singer-songwriter. I don't think Jay Sean considers himself a singer-songwriter.
I don't even know his name. Like, I don't know what if he...
I was into that. I mean, dude, first of all, she gets down low for me, down like she's supposed to be, down like her temperature, because to me she's 0 degrees, cold, overfreeze. I got that girl from overseas. Now she my Miss American. Can I be her soldier, please? I'm fighting for that girl on the battlefield of love. Got me look like baby Cupid sending arrows from above. Don't you ever leave the side of me, and definitely not probably, and honestly, I'm down like the economy. I know that Lil Wayne verse.
That's crazy, and people are gonna think there's a teleprompter here, and
there is not.
There is not a.
I was just a big Wheezy fan.
My hand to Shemayim, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But that is.
Wait, that
pop.
was a Who's? You're a Who fan?
Wheezy. That's Lil Wayne. That's a nickname
I didn't know
for
that his name. Yeah.
This is literally like talking to my mom about hip hop.
That's like my introduction to Lil Wayne. Is like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you got him through pop. Yeah.
Pick the world up and drop it. I always think about that when a guy's doing Hogba. I'm like, pick the world up.
Dude, the stranglehold that Eminem had on like every Yeshiva guy I know.
Oh my gosh, he's the best.
I got a theory for that also, because he's white, so he's more relatable to the Yeshiva guy, and he's angry, and he's showing aggression, and Yeshiva guys are so emasculated because we just sit down and learn all day. And you know what would get you canceled? Those like people really don't want when someone's like, yo, who are your top 5 rappers? It's like, dude, easy. Macklemore, Eminem, Mac Miller. It's like all white guys. Easy, bro. I love hip hop. Tom McDonald, the guy who has a song with Ben Shapiro, is my top 5. Yeah. I have always liked Macklemore, and he's a bit of a cheeseball, but I guess I'm also a bit of a cheeseball.
What else does he do besides I'm gonna pop some tag? What else?
He's got bars.
Yeah, he's got bars.
He has some of the best, like, he has incredible features with other artists. He has
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, they were like a duo.
He dropped Ryan. I don't know if Ryan Lewis is involved anymore. He might be like a.
We can probably get Ryan Lewis on the podcast.
Apparently,
Ryan Lewis is a fun boy.
My goal with this pod is to really interview the disgraced ex-cohorts of famous rappers.
Ryan Lewis.
Apparently, so on the Warren episode that just came out of this podcast.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. The first episode 1. Shmuley pronounced it Macklemore, and I called him out, and then someone, my friend Mo Ackerman, said to me, I was wrong. It's Macklemore. It's Macklemore.
Well, I only know one song, so I'm not going to
No, he's got other songs.
Involved.
I'll send you his stuff. He has a song with Ed Sheeran that's one of my favorite Ed Sheeran songs. He has a song with Chance the Rapper that's one of my favorite Chance verses.
I I still can't get over how you just. Are there any other famous songs that you can do that? Or should we not
but
try
if I do the
not
other one,
try to-
people realize how much of a loser I am because the other one is a different rapper on a dumb pop song.
Like, what's the process? Because I'm a professional singer. I have to memorize a lot of lyrics, and especially now, I have to learn these like Israeli songs. It's no more like Siman Tov and Mazel Tov. Like you have to learn like verse, chorus. You know?
Right.
There's a lot of lyrics, and I'll cheat. I'll just
Israeli songs are tough.
yeah, there's a lot. Like you try to sing like a Hanan Ben Ari song, it's like it's
like
like a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's like a process for me.
It's also like not words you know because they're not like Tehillim we've been saying forever.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I do have a knack of like remembering them versus like Yiddish.
You ever like really screw up and just like
Sure.
have you ever
I
been
made a video recently. This is gonna be very frum, but like I pronounced the word wrong.
player?
No, I said v'yigdu l'raiv.
What's wrong with that?
It's yidgu.
Oh, get out of
I
here!
should put it
You
out.
should absolutely.
The-
I'll tell you why you should put it out because I've been from my entire life and
Yeah,
I thought it was V'yig Dilurov.
Right, but it's v'yidgu. By the way, what if it's v'yigdu? Yeah, I'll look at it.
I actually think you're wrong here. I think it's V'yig Dilurov.
But it's like
Hamal
dug.
Chago, right?
Dug is fish, so it's v'yidgu. You should be like fish.
Oh, you're right.
Everyone says yigdu.
I remember being very disappointed. Okay, Hamal Chago was my favorite song forever growing up.
Wow.
The one that goes Hamal
Yeah.
Chago. I mean, I think very touching. The melody
Yeah.
like really hits me,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's what Yaakov said to his kids, very emotional. Didn't know what it actually meant. I just knew that it was something you say to your kids before bed. It was like the bedtime song. Beautiful. And then years later, I found out it has to do with fish. I know it's like a blessing. Like you should be.
Doesn't have to. That's not true.
I don't even like that the word fish is in it though. Like it kind of.
Right.
Imagine the most beautiful song you've ever heard, and one of the main lyrics is
Like a fish.
I just didn't like it. I don't like herring. Like I don't want it in there.
Like a lox bagel. yeah, it's kind of right,
Yeah.
right.
I like the Shlomi Dax one also. How's his one?
Which one is Hama?
I go, I see. Should we just the rest of the pod just us doing?
Listen.
Can I just say something? I don't think I've ever said this to you.
Yes.
We've talked about YBC on your podcast,
Yes.
and that I was on that. I don't of all of my friends who should have been in YBC. Why were you not in YBC
First of
or
all,
Miami? Like why were you not a choir? You look like a choir kid.
I got accepted into.
You look like a Catholic choir kid, actually.
Oh no.
They have a higher rate of very touching music. Yeah.
I was accepted into Miami. It was the Miami Revach era.
You were.
I could have.
And you turned it down.
I
Big flex.
didn't turn it down, but it was turned down by my
Parents.
managers.
Your handlers.
My handlers turned it down. And looking back, do I regret it? I think I'm over it. I think like
It'd be weird if that like kept you up at night.
no, it's just that I see that there were a lot of people who went through that experience and it did not really help their music career in the long run at all. Like it didn't give them a leg up, you know?
Forget leg up. It's just a cool.
The experience is
It
cool.
certainly didn't help my
I
music.
I was part of a different local like Russian Jewish choir called M Generation.
Wait, that sounds like a boy band. I like that.
Yeah, it was
Did
interesting.
you guys have frosted tips?
No, but I did get to sing with Avram Fried, which I thought was the coolest thing.
Like every good boy band does.
Yeah, I thought it was the coolest thing.
You know he's like around. You're like currently in his
I can
neighborhood.
sing with him again, right?
Let's find him
Yeah.
after the pod.
The sad thing is that he gave me a gift on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me a Kiddush cup, and for years I thought that he had like gone to the store before the concert and like chosen a gift for me, and then when I realized that my parents just bought it and gave it to him to gift to me, I was very disappointed.
Wait,
Yeah.
I have to interject here because
2002.
that is disappointing.
2001.
Also, like that's so sweet of your parents. You're like, fuck my parents. I don't care. I want them
I mean,
free.
it had my name engraved on it. Imagine like Avram Fried had this,
Like I'm just imagining like your parents did this like really sweet thing, and then you find that out.
well, I want Avram Fried.
Your parents like, we just want to connect to you, son. And you're like, boo.
And then
You guys aren't famous. You don't have a single song.
And then the second disappointment was I met him like 5 years later because I desperately wanted to like be connected to music. So I was like one of the door guys at a Miami Boys Choir concert.
Oh, I can't believe you just said that in public, but okay.
Yeah, I mean I was like a young teenager, like maybe 9th grade.
Okay.
And I meet Avram Fried and I'm like, Avram Fried, like I sang with you twice. He's like, bro, I do not remember you.
He literally said,
Yeah,
he said the word.
No, he didn't say bro, and he said it. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't remember you.
Oh, okay.
And I was
But
like,
still a disappointment.
yeah. Like,
You thought you made like a real impression
yeah, and
on
I'm
Album
like, but
Freight.
you bought me a Kiddush cup. Remember? Yeah.
We had a moment.
Yeah. So now when I see him, I don't even remind him. I just.
Well, once we're sharing like cheesy, like early, formulative Jewish singer stories, there was an artist that was very big. I think to this day the only truly great modern Orthodox Jewish singer, Yehuda. Yes. Yehuda Chick, right? Yehuda exclamation point. And pre-YBC, I think I must have been 7 years old. He invited me on stage at his concert in Cleveland to play the bongos. And I, like 7, 8-year-old Zach, played the bongos while he sang some song. And that was my first time ever being on a stage. And
How
there
did
was
you get
hundreds
selected?
of
You guys were neighbors, friends?
I raised my hand in the audience. He's like, I need a young man. Wow. And he picked me, and I was like, what? And then, yeah, a few years later, I did end up being on one of his albums. I do have a duet with him on his...
Do we have the recording somewhere?
Yes, I will attach it to the end of this video.
Show notes, right.
Yeah, right, it's his second album. Right. I think he's incredible. I actually do. I think he's one of the best Jewish artists.
He has a very beautiful voice. I think he produced his own music also. Or
yes, his father also is a composer.
Yeah.
I just also think his music's more interesting than a lot of the more like... He wasn't yeshivish.
Yeah, he wore a ring.
One of his... Yeah, big time.
I'm the next Yehuda, right?
Controversial.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be the only frum artist, the only Orthodox Jewish artist who has... I think his biggest hit is a salsa song. Dun 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 dun. It's like Latin.
Oh my God.
It's a Latin song.
Right, I forgot that.
He had me swinging hips before I knew what hips were.
Right, he performed in Chaim Day Camp in 2001.
What is Chaim Day Camp?
That's the camp. It's like Chaim Berlin's day camp. And they're like, do you know that he performs without a band? They like sold it to us. Like it's like better. Like,
that it's better that he doesn't have a band?
I'm like, yeah.
Do you know that he can't afford a backing band?
Any loser can come with like a 10-piece orchestra. He has no band. Like that.
He sells mattresses now. He does very well.
I know.
But I miss him. I miss him on the scene.
How do you know that he sells mattresses? Because I have...
He lives in Cleveland. He's my cousin's cousin.
He doesn't live in... I think he lives in Florida.
Okay, we all eventually live in Florida. He lived in Cleveland.
Right.
Yes, yeah, I understand. He made Aliyah Boca, but...
He does sell mattresses, yes.
Yeah.
But did you not sing with Matisyahu as a kid also, or you shared a
That was
stage
already once I
with,
was in...
right.
Yeah, when I was in...
And did he remember you when you...
Absolutely not. I brought it up to him when we interviewed him on Mislabeled, and why would he remember me? Like,
it was a joke, right?
I remembered him.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
What was his... It was the Haas concert.
It was that Haas concert.
Right.
The one.
Well, what do you feel about now Matisyahu suddenly being like embraced?
Super Jewish?
It's not what he's being. It's what we're being.
No, it is what he's being. Because if he wasn't coming out super pro-Israel, then the frum world would still like
He was never anti-Israel. He was being pro-Israel this whole time. He was banned from a concert in like 2015.
Yeah,
for being pro-Israel.
Really?
It was a whole thing.
No. But the frum. Okay, here's the thing.
It's us, not him.
You're right. It is us, but it's us. You're right. It is us. But what it is since 10/7, Rabbi Isai, from Yidden, all of a sudden are like, oh, you could be like, if an OnlyFans model came out pro-Israel right now, I promise you they would get Mishpacha magazine front cover. Like,
so you are exaggerating, but
very slightly.
But there is something wild going on that we're like, we need allies so badly that
especially allies in the limelight.
Yeah. Yo, favorite Matisyahu album?
Great question. I mean, very boring answer, but Youth. I think Youth is an almost perfect album.
I really connected. I'm not saying it's the best album, but I really connected to Spark Seeker. People did not like that album.
No, you're making me rethink. It might be better. I'll tell you why I don't like Sparks is because Wits, the yeshiva I went to, the gym had one CD of Sparks, and I listened to it 1,000,000 times.
It was his first beardless album. Mm-hmm. And
no, it was not.
Yes. Was.
Sparks. We're talking about different.
Spark Seeker.
We're talking about different albums. You're right. That was his first beardless. I'm talking about the album before it called Light.
Light.
I like a lot.
Beard album. I actually think when he put it out, he wasn't so beard anymore.
Beard album versus not beard album.
No, I had like a Palestinian kid on the cover.
Who would win in a fight, bearded Montesio or non-bearded Montesio?
He also aged like very quickly. Like he just.
I think he still looks pretty good.
No, but like his hair went white. Like he cut off his beard.
Well, he's prematurely gray.
He cut off his beard, and like the next year, his
I'll say it.
Yeah.
That beard was hiding. I mean, he looked like every, dandruffy Chabad guy. Like,
right, he ended up being hot.
He's hot. He's like a handsome, he's 6.5 feet tall and hot. Like, he's a rock star, and he was hiding that.
He cut off his beard also. He's like, I'm too hot for this beard. Yeah. It's 6, you wanted an alarm? You're getting an alarm.
Oh, okay. Clap. Oh, let me just quickly text this boy. All right, let's rock this. I'd rather not talk about
recording, right?
No.
Okay, the phone also? Did you pause the phone?
No.
Yeah, I thought you pressed something.
No, everything's fine.
Okay.
Also, the phone. So far, I've Baruch never needed to use the phone yet.
Rebbe doesn't need his phone, Bacha.
He said that. Oh god. Rebbe does. Wow, that just dislodged something from my, because I've heard of Rebbe say that in that exact tone of voice. Rebbe doesn't need his phone, but it's fine.
I just like the image of like a Rebbe low-key flexing in front of his television. Like, Bacha, Rebbe's been invited to 4 Pesach programs this year as a scholar in residence. You think I need this? Think I need to be sitting here with you?
Oh, save it for the pod. All right, let's.
This is the pod.
This is the pod.
Yeah,
no, it's not the pod till I clap.
Okay, we'll put that in.
Oh, we'll put it in.
Let's put it in, yeah.
Okay. While we're on the topic of Jewish music, I want to know your thoughts on what do you think makes a song Jewish and what you think don't?
It's so funny because I just watched like Mendy Portnoy. Shout out Mendy Portnoy. Do you know Mendy Portnoy?
Never met him in person, but I do know that he's a fan of the pod or a fan of me.
I messaged Mendy. I said to him today, I said, you're promoting fatherhood in a very wholesome way because he like posts like.
Then you've never sent me anything like that.
Because I hate the way you treat your kids. It's abusive.
Okay, yeah. You don't understand my culture. It's a yucky thing. It's a yucky. We still smack. Yeah. What is your favorite Montes collab?
I don't know that many, but I'm just remembering the song. You're gonna dance all night.
I don't even know this one.
Yeah, exactly. He has a collab with Trevor Hall.
Yeah, he does.
And it's decent.
Yeah. I know, and Trevor Hall's awesome.
And he gets a little bit too like yoga studio for me, like, you know what I mean?
He gets very white guy to yoga. White guy with dreads.
Yeah, but that album, I think it's called Trevor Hall. Mm-hmm. Take me to the. I see. I'm not like I don't know the words. Yeah. I'm like,
wait, do his voice though. What's the Trevor Hall voice? Take me to the one that I love.
It took a while for you to find me, but I was like now I'm like listening to it and like I can't. I feel like I'm listening to like Mayor Kate telling me about breathwork.
Trevor Hall. Yeah. Trevor Hall's albums do not wear deodorant. It's chemicals.
But he is very good.
He's amazing.
So Mandy Portnoy started the series What is Jewish Music, and I like we can watch it on my phone. Like I have
let's do a very meta thing.
5-minute rant of me like talking about like I was gonna just put this on my stories, and then I'm like I'm gonna save it for you.
Here, just get right up to the camera and just show your phone, play the video to the camera. No, that's actually. Well, I'm because
I didn't put it on my stories. I'm like I'll save it for like I don't want to rant. I'd rather have a discussion.
Yeah. So let's discuss.
Yeah.
Because I have not thought about that question of what makes Jewish music Jewish for a while. And the reason being is I only really thought about that question when I was in Yeshiva, and I had people who I looked up to in my Rebbeim telling me not to listen to Jewish music.
Right.
And I loved all music. I was very musically, sonically explorative. And I was like, well, you better have a good reason. And then what even is Jewish music and what's not? What's good for my neshama, what's not? It hasn't been a question in years. But now I'm curious philosophically because isn't it interesting how there was just some genres of music that if someone made a song about God, about Judaism, about our values to that genre, they're doing Goyish music. I don't care that it's a pasuk. They're doing Goyish music. Rock, like real rock and roll with like drums and like, no. That's like any rock band like Blue Fringe, I'm sorry, that's Goyish music, right? Sure. But then, you know, Yehuda can put out a salsa song.
You know, your Rebbeim were right to like, it was in their best interests that we don't listen to non-Jewish music.
Because it could lead to mixed dancing.
Because it leads to...
Which could lead to mixed swimming.
At least respecting Paul McCartney. That's already, like, not what a Gadol Hadar should be doing. You know, like, you have to remember, we were being raised to be, like, the future leaders of Klal Yisrael.
Shemen Zayzach.
Which we are. By the way, we are.
This is what it looks like. This is your Yeshiva dollars at work.
This is it.
Tuition right here.
This is your greatest dream come true.
To all the future mothers out here.
Yeah, but any mothers who want to know, I keep doing this joke. It's like if you want to be, like in my head, it's like you're a role model. So mothers watching this, you know.
Yeah.
Wits, you know, like name your yeshivas.
Name your accolades. Yeah. This is what happens if you send your kid to Wits. This is what happens if you
want your kid to be like Zach, you know, Wits.com, right? Yeah. Wix.com. Oh, I pressed snooze. Yeah. So I think.
What is your background there, dude? What is that?
No, I think it just comes with the phone. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Okay, I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was like a smoky photograph you took.
On this screen, it's not.
So you were saying?
Yeah, I think like So Yossi Green and Mendy had this whole discussion, and this podcast just came out, and I think
I don't want to talk about the podcast.
No,
what is
but
your
I
thoughts?
want my thoughts are a response to his thoughts
Interesting.
because Mendy asked him, and again, people don't know Yossi Green. He's like a legendary Jewish composer. He wrote like most of Avram Fried's music. He also wrote Anavim, Anavim, Higia, and he's very thoughtful and very smart, and
He's the Beatles of Jewish music.
and he's not BS. He's not just saying things that are like marketable towards Hamodia. Like
Interesting.
he's saying like the most thoughtful, intelligent things you could say.
Using David Hamelech's words.
no, not in his lyrics. In interviews.
Oh, okay, I
Oh,
really
yeah,
thought.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
what do you mean his music's
Yeah,
intelligent?
no. In interviews. No, he
Yeah.
doesn't write lyrics. He just composes
To be very
melodies.
clear, and I'll let you get back to your thought. Jewish music, and yes, I'm denigrating it right now. Frum music this is the formula. Pick a pasuk. Sad pasuk, sad song. Happy pasuk, happy
So
song.
that's literally
it.
what he was arguing against. He claims that whenever he writes a song, and he calls it writing, he's inspired by a pasuk in advance. He doesn't show up to the piano looking for pasukim. He's first inspired by a pasuk, and he really feels like this pasuk needs to be expressed in a song, and like that's the method he uses for songwriting.
I believe it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice. Nice to
Yeah.
hear.
He like said a story how Avram Fried once called him. I know we keep talking about Avram Fried, but I love Avram Fried. And
Maybe Avram Fried will
yeah.
pay for my next
Yeah,
episode.
and Avram Fried said, I had a dream that Mashiach came. And Yossi Green's like, that's weird. Like, I never had a dream like that. And he's like, Avram Fried's like really tripping about Mashiach. And like, Avram Fried came over and like, they wrote a whole song about Mashiach coming. And like, it came from the fact that Avram Fried like had a dream.
Like it was real.
He literally had a dream. So Mandy asks him like, why don't we just embrace like singer-songwriters writing about their feelings? You know, like why is that? Why don't we have those? That was Mandy's question. And I'm like watching this. I'm like, why don't we have them? We do have them. Like we have a lot of them.
No, we do not.
We have.
Name 5.
Me and you know multiple people in the frum community who are singer-songwriters. They're not.
But they're not big.
They're not big.
They're not.
And the fact that we only know a few, but they're not big, means that there must be others as well. We just don't know about them. So the question
Right,
to
but
ask,
you're not answering your... No.
So the question to ask is why don't they exist? The question is why does the community
Why are they not being embraced?
not specifically care about it?
Yes.
And the answer is because the values of our community unite around religious observance and not around this like pursuit for creativity.
Or pursuit of self-expression.
Or so, right, which is the same thing.
I think that in every single religion, as a man who has listened to a tremendous amount of Christian music also, and I haven't yet tried Muslim music, but I'm sure it happens with them also, once you get really into the religion, your own personal expression just becomes less important than an expression of God.
And that's kind of... Oh,
So-
you're saying your own expression becomes more
Well,
important?
let me finish the thought.
Right,
yeah, it becomes... No, your own personal expression is not as important.
less important,
It's subsumed by a more important value, which is I'm just expressing a feeling about God, which is why there's like cool hipster Christian artists that will write songs about their feelings. And maybe that's not even their feelings on God. They'll write songs about love songs. But once you get more mainstream right-wing Christian, it's every song is, Jesus, take me. And same in Yiddishkeit, if you want to be a frum mainstream artist, you're allowed to sing God stuff, and you're allowed to sing psukim. We're not interested in the personal, and it's a real deep issue. I think I use the word issue. It could be that there's just an individual versus collectivist society thing going on here, but I see it as an issue because what do you do with people like you and me who are very individualistic and are thirsty
Kill
for
them.
self-expression?
Right. You know what I was thinking about this morning was I was thinking, what is the most effective Jewish hit in the past 5 years? Because Mendy and what's his name? Green. I forgot his first. Yossi Green. Mendy and Yehuda Green were arguing about hit. Like, what's a hit? Because Yossi Green said there's no hit that's not like legit coming from the heart. And Mendy's like, what are you talking about? There's hits every day. Yeah. And he's like, no, those are not hits. Those are songs that become, meaning they are
Flash
hits.
in the pan.
Yeah, they're hits for a year,
They're
for
not
6
enduring
months.
classics.
Right, and it makes sense because Green's been around for 40, 50 years. So his view on Jewish music's like much better.
Game.
He's been seeing it. He's like, yeah, there's only a couple of songs from the 80s that you're still singing, you know, and from the 90s and from the 2000s. I thought that was an amazing distinction. of like hit versus a timeless anthem, you know? And I'm saying this to say that I think the song that has the highest chance of having that longevity is probably Tati My King.
Oh, I really wish you hadn't said that. Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
I prefer you not saying it.
I
don't like it.
On my couch.
I really don't like it.
Right. And I think the reason
I don't like it because it does this thing that I don't like in Jewish creativity. It's very infantilizing. Even the word Tati,
Sure.
This is a personal thing, and
sure.
I'm not yucking other someone else's yum, but there's already enough factors in frum living that infantilizes adults, and like that song is very infantilizing. Because as someone who like struggled with wanting,
someone who tried to write the Tati My King of my whole life.
I will never be able to forgive myself for not writing Tati My King.
Right. No, but what I'm saying, okay, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
A little bit.
Go, please.
We're not addressing the main issue here, which is that religious communities do not do not foster honesty in expression. We are not interested in a song where someone says, I'm struggling. Struggle is not allowed. The only struggle you're allowed to be sad that the Beis HaMikdash is gone, but you're not allowed to be sad that your parents are gone or sad that your shidduch didn't work out. That song would never, it's too human, it's something about it. And that's culty and weird. Any society that you look at the art that the society makes, if the art is not allowed to be human, then the society is not letting people be human. I like how I said that. And
I think you said it. That's a clip.
And it hurts. It hurts because I don't think art is more important than being a good person. I am not one of those people. And I don't exonerate artists who were dicks in real life. Being a mensch is way more important than making good art than self-expression. But self-expression is a human need. And religious communities, far right-wing religious communities, do not foster that. And it's a symptom of a deeper sickness of inhumanness,
right.
of a fear of raw humanity.
The reason I brought up Tati My King was not to say we have expression. I was actually
right.
saying
I know.
I'm
not jumping down your throat.
Yeah. What you're saying is amazing, but what I'm saying is that was still a step.
I know,
because
right.
a song like that, you're elevating off the derech kids. You're taking kids who are off, You're taking kids who are struggling with their Judaism and you're giving them the spotlight. I don't want to see this. Show them to me when they're wearing hats.
When they're a finished
yeah,
bring them to me.
Yeah.
I believe it is not an easy life to be a sensitive artistic person growing up in a very religious place. It is simply not.
Right.
So you will be to some degree a straggler, or you will learn to hide it in some way, or to tamp it down, or maybe we create more spaces, and I do see people trying, especially in Crown Heights. I see people trying to create spaces for the very religious who are also very earnestly wanting to create and self-express. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something, and I forgot, but...
I didn't mean to get you upset about the...
No, I like it. It's real. It's
Like,
I know what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think what I was going to say is I think I could very easily... answer back to that statement of, to Yossi Green. What I would say to Yossi Green right now, when you say, if you want to make Jewish music, it has to help people do Torah mitzvahs. Torah, I don't know about. It's hard to write a song that makes people want to do Torah unless the lyrics are Torah, Torah, Torah.
Maybe the song's so bad, you're like, I'm just going to go
I'm just going to... Bava Kama's better than this. But mitzvahs, I know some mitzvahs. What about the mitzvah of treating your fellow like you would want to be true yourself? Like, what about like brotherly love? What about bein al l'chavero? Well, you know what type of music makes me want to be better to other human beings? The music where they express what their inner experience of being a human being, their pain, their sorrow, their joy, their dreams. That makes me have this thing called empathy for them. I can empathize now because I know how they're feeling. That, again, humanizes them. And then when someone humanizes themselves and shows their weaknesses and their fears and their sadness and their joy, you feel more connected and want to treat them better and want to do mitzvos towards them.
Right.
So you know what, Yossi Green? If some guy writes a song about how he's really sad that the shidduch didn't work out, and he remembers what the sky looked like the night that they broke up in the Toyota Camry that he rented from his friend in Kollel.
You shouldn't even give this away. This is my other response to you is like the internet is a neutral place, and that would be a crazy song. That would be an amazing song. and it would work.
It would work.
And no one would stop you.
No
one would stop you.
I'm not going to write that song.
I do think that I think my pushback is like, oh, there's no this, there's no that. Like at this point, there is a lot of what's happening is like based on demand. Like what I'm saying is there's not so much demand, you know, but a song like that, a song like the shidduch, like the what did you just had whole expression, the stars. I don't know what you said, but.
I was just setting a scene for what could be a song.
Amazing.
You know what's interesting about this conversation is most conversations I have about these glaring, I would say, human gaps in the frum world. I normally just for years my like relationship to those gaps, I just make fun of them, like I move on because it's not my problem anymore. I've aligned myself with the people of the world who believe in self-expression. Sure. What this conversation is doing is you're kind of putting me back in the mindset I had when I struggled with this stuff because I was within the system and I was like, but me and my friends want this. We want this so bad.
It's a big challenge for me because when I get upset because I see so many things I don't like, I'm just like, oh yeah, like, it's just let them figure it out. Like, not my problem, you know? I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do me and I'm just going to remove myself and let them sit in their mud, you know? Yeah. But even watching a guy like Mendy, you know, like take on that role of like, I'm going to put myself right in it, you know? And like ask the question of like, what is Jewish music? Or like watch a guy like Label Wiener, right? Mm-hmm. Who's like, you cannot remove me from this world. Like I am wearing a yarmulke and I call myself frum. You know, you don't like it.
He calls himself frum, and he calls Flappers Girl not frum.
Yeah, right. But in the same vein, she says like, "I am frum." You know, and there's been a lot of
people. It's outside voices finally saying,
"I'm not outside.
I'm not outside. I'm inside. I'm inside the house."
Yeah, and it's like we've so been like indoctrinated with this idea like of getting kicked out of yeshiva. Like, you don't like it. Go, you know, like get it, like chayram, being kicked out. You know, you're not part of it. Like any dissenting voice, out. You know, and like we do it to ourselves. Almost prematurely, I would say. Not like any person. I don't have the energy.
We're still, all of us are still, on some level, small level, taki-dakis for the yeshiva boys. We are afraid of being kicked out of yeshiva. Yeah. The greater yeshiva.
Yeah, we're afraid.
Now, some of us left. I am no longer afraid of being kicked out of yeshiva. Truly. I can sit here very calmly and say I'm no longer afraid of being kicked out of yeshiva. I kicked myself out. I'm happy to be out. I don't want to really be let back in. But in some ways I still do. And I also find myself thirsty once in a while for like a good kumsitz or a good or real frum culture. Jew God culture. I want it, and then I enter that world and I love it for like a couple days or 30 minutes at a time, and then something happens and I'm like, where's the humanity sometimes?
Right.
But I'm to be very clear, I'm talking mostly about like cultural things, like about art and like the music. Frum people are very human and very real, and the people you meet on the street are very kind and very generous. I'm not talking about mitos and behavior. I'm talking about art. But art is very important.
You know, Zach, I wonder if instead of removing ourselves or saying like this sucks, you know, no one wants what we have to offer, like maybe we need to make more of an effort to like stay involved and like push our things.
It is not my job. First of all, that would only work if I had a real desire to do that.
Right.
But I no longer have like, if I do write music.
Right.
And I have written some songs about God.
Right.
The only song I've ever actually fully written, completed, and performed is about my relationship with God. And I'm happy to sing it in frum spaces, and I'm happy to sing it, I've already sung it, on a grand piano actually, in non-frum spaces.
It's called Outside Looking In.
It's called Eat In Again. But that is a lyric.
Great song.
Thank you very much.
It's a great song, and I'm not just saying that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's not, I just don't have the interest. That's not my fight anymore. Like, it's not my job.
Right.
Maybe it's your job.
Maybe it's my job.
You are more aligned with the frum community. It's not my job. That's not a job for me because it's not that I've given up on the frum community. It's that it's not.
Listen,
I don't care to change
everyone, right? Like obviously, like.
Actually, that's not true. I do, because I wouldn't make these poetry events that I make in Crown Heights for a
You
mostly
haven't made
frum
one
audience.
in a while.
I've been busy.
Yeah.
I do
You
wanna
haven't
make
made one
them.
in a while. You should do that again.
I get such
Right.
a high watching you with your yarmulke play shows in Williamsburg, play shows at Rockwood, now defunct Rockwood. I get such a high from watching the All Nevs of the world. I watch such a high from when I made my poetry events and watching an Orthodox girl who I know maybe she's like struggling with Yiddishkeit, but like she loves the Rebbe or whatever, and she gets up and what does she recite at my poetry event? A poem about her rape. Like raw, human art. When I watch people who grew up in this really be raw and open and human and realize that there's healing in that, I'm like, go team, go team. And I'll be real as hell right now. I've got a lot of thoughts about mislabeled, most of them positive and some very negative. I gotta say, a win for Label Wiener is a win for me. It's a win for people who grew up in the Yeshiva system where he's being himself. And that was something I was always proud of on Mislabeled is Label created a space where you're getting the full, with all the bad parts and all the good parts. We're not going to shy away from our full humanity. Ben,
Zach, I think you're doing good.
I feel good.
I think you're doing really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I am so excited that you're doing this. I know you have some fire guests coming up.
I have some good stuff. Good stuff in the works.
I will look fondly back at this period when this was a Frum podcast.
Thank you.
Before it becomes something else.
It'll always be a Frum podcast because I'm always going to be a little Frum.
Right.
And I'm happy to embrace that.
So I wish you would actually like embrace that. No, I think that even.
It's hard for me. You can understand.
I think that, first of all, having a Frum podcast doesn't prevent you from having any guest you want. Because
Mislabeled has shown that.
Right, because your Frum audience are going to be people who appreciate, and it's a win.
It's a very simple thing.
It's a win for the boys.
It's a very simple thing. Yeah. I love having you and other Frum people I've had on this podcast where we can just talk shop inside baseball. Of course, this is my culture at the very least. After what I've, the years of blood, sweat, and tears I put into Frumkeit, I get to use it as my plaything in conversation. It's fun. I love it. What am I supposed to do if I would like to have an audience that is not just Orthodox Jews? My whole life has been a struggle not to be accepted, to experience the world, the greater world. I want the greater world to experience me. What are they going to do with Kugel and Bava Kama? What are they going to do with it?
Right. So I think
they're going to feel alienated.
So a few things. I mean, you see that even, let's say, Vampire Weekend, like Ezra Koenig, there's a lot of inside Jewish references in his lyrics.
True.
So I think, if you watch Curb, right? There's certain things that are mainstream that I watch, and I'm like, how are non-Jews even watching this? Like, how are they even enjoying this?
You're saying there's ways to...
This is so inside baseball.
I love what you're saying.
Right.
I can say this, and I'll stand on this. Trauma Dump is not going to be a Frum podcast, but you better believe your sweet ass there's going to be Frum Easter eggs for as long as... I'm not a person who is even capable of living a life without Frum Easter eggs. I still... Do you know how many times I'm talking to a non-Jewish person that I'm friends with, and I just say Geschmack? Or like, yeah, I don't really think that stims. And then I have to be like, oh, wait. This is who I am. Of course there's going to be Easter eggs. There'll be... And I'm okay to end on that.
No more slogans.
And that's my thoughts on Jewish music. And Ben, seriously,
thank you so much.
Thank you for being such a supporter and literally helping with this pod. And real ally.
An ally.
Yeah, the T in LGBT stands for Trauma Dump.
Dude, that was the best one we've done.
I think so.
I think that was the best
People, that's Drama Trump, episode 1.
Drama Trump. That's
Peace.
really good.